over, start the video. Yep.
Forgot my hat today.
Good to go. You want to borrow mine?
No.
I don't have lice.
You don't have hair. Where would lice live?
That's true. In my beard.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's get it started. Right?
Do you have young children?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have they had lice outbreaks at their school?
Not this one recently. No. Where we lived in Greenville, there were issues a couple times where we had to deal with that crap. Yeah. And, it's from the neighbors.
They had a small one in the public school. It was contained quickly. And then I think they had one over the summer at where my kid goes to daycare. But
yeah, my daughter had one in Amherst 6-7 years ago.
People lose their freaking
I know,
minds.
And they won't tell you. The school wouldn't tell you.
No, they won't. I don't know. Now the school texts me for every little thing.
Oh, yeah, they do.
It's texting and email and calling me 5 times.
Yep.
All right.
How would you say that? Javelina?
Javelina? I don't know. Javelina? I would go with Javelina.
Javelina.
Yeah, I would say javelina.
It's a desert mammal. You'll find them in the Sonoran Desert.
There you go. So that's what we're going to roll with.
And that's what is sitting in the rocker is a javelina.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, fucking lessons learned.
Like
it's kind of a cross between a pig and a deer. If you can imagine that. It runs like a deer, snorts, and eats like a pig.
Interesting.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's fast. They're very fast.
I'm going to have to go YouTube
and
with this.
They're very fast, but they're also very piggish. It's a very strange animal.
Huh.
So, ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. This is Off Color Discussions. I am your host, Joe B. Sitting across from me, or next to me, is my man, Billy C.
Good evening.
Tonight, we're sitting with Roger Tilton from Full Tilt On.
Is that the full?
Is it full?
Is that the full title? You should get this right.
On.
We retired that name.
Oh. All right, well, we're going to get back to that. This episode's brought to you by Smoke Proper. Go to smokeproper.com. Use OCD at time of checkout. Save yourself 10%. Get yourself a nice sweatshirt that Billy is not wearing this time.
Not this time.
T-shirt, which I'm finally wearing because it was nice as hell out today. This episode's also brought to you by Iconic Construction, where you can save yourself 10%. Well, time's running out, at least for February.
Tax returns, baby.
Get yourself a nice deck put on for the spring. Summer's coming up quick.
Invest in your home.
The weather is changing rapidly. This week is also brought to you by the beer store in Nashua. You can go to there and see Mark or Chris, and they'll pick out a nice selection for you. This week we got Rockingham Brewing Company's Javelina, an Indiana, Jesus Christ, India Pale Ale, IPA. Why did I say IPA all of a sudden? Look at this. It's a generously hopped with El Dorado for this easy drinking IPA named after the nocturnal and gregarious musk hogs. Jesus Christ. I cannot read, apparently.
It's because you don't have your bifocals on.
I am not that old, sir.
Gregarious musk hogs that roam the desert in the southwest.
See?
Musk hogs.
I'm a little surprised this isn't as hazy as the normal ones you've been bringing by.
No, it's not. But it
is pretty delicious, though.
It's really smooth.
Yeah.
Javelina.
It's a good name, too.
I got nervous because I heard that they have, and I forget the name of the beer, but they cook it. Rockingham Brewing Company. I believe it's them that, I want to say it's one of their stouts, but they cook it, the broth from a pig's head. And that's what they use as their water.
That sounds interesting.
So I get very nervous when I was picking it out.
Yeah,
man.
Sounds interesting. I mean, I'm down for trying new stuff, but pig head broth?
Yeah, see, I don't know. So after our first, Roger's been on before, and after our first one, I got a lot of feedback as far as the investing side, and where I would tell people, yeah, this is what we talked about, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, and everybody was like, all right, well, I'll get the other half, like if you want to do that. And I'm like, whoa, all right, let me get information first. We'll talk about it. I've had several people tell me that they got the rest of it.
Is that what they're telling you?
Oh yeah. But one thing I wanted to not thank you, but in a way, is that going back and listening to the episode on what we talked about as far as politics were concerned, that conversation kind of opened my eyes, and it's my fault for being ignorant in its own way, is that when I approached the question of, is this not like the most fucked up time that we're in, you were like, no, and started listing off other things. So then it's like, oh, all right, well, let me start paying attention to what's actually going on and looking up things. And now it's like my perspective has changed on a lot of different things. I'm not one way or the other. I'm almost kind of defining our own path or my own path. And I think what we came up with, like the free thinker party, if anything, as far as like the leftist, the Liberal Party is eating itself as far as the leftist movement. You have the stuff that goes on at colleges where they're blocking free speech if they don't agree with it, as opposed to actually having a conversation and supporting arguments. It's name calling now. And then you have the right, which is you have the evangelical conservative, which I'm very far from as far as organized religion goes. And then now the alt-right, where the nationalists, which, yes, we should rep our hometown, but at the same time, we have to realize that we are number one, and number one should take care of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Mm-hmm. So for that, I have to at least give you that episode actually opened up my eyes to a lot of things. But we're not here to talk about that today.
We're not.
So,
Good,
no.
because it is so much worse than it was back then.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are
so
younger
much
than
worse.
me, and sometime 15 or 20 years down the road, you're going to say to your friends and your family and your children, God, can you believe that we survived as a nation a year and a half of that Trump administration?
Yeah.
Seriously, 2-3 decades from now, we are all going to look back and think,
Well, it depends
Wow.
on what comes after next. If we
What-
get,
what a-
I don't want Oprah next. I
what a-
don't think that's the way to go either.
No. What I'm saying is, this is such a great country. Anybody can run for president and win, even if you've laundered money for Russians for 3 decades and were able to hide it from the American people by never showing your tax returns and getting away with it forever and never really wanting to win, because then it's going to be exposed. How am I going to stop that from being exposed, right? Great country. We prove to ourselves how great we are by electing, kind of a nitwit grandstander as president. And I think we all realize, you just said it, we don't want Oprah. No, we want some professional who's been in politics for a long time and who maybe knows how to get things done. You look at a guy like Joe Biden. He's really old, but you know what? He's Uncle Joe. He's been part of the government for a long time, and he's a pretty smart guy. I would trust him with the nuclear codes and getting gun control or gun safety done right. You look at the guy that's there now, and it's like, we all know,
Now, do we really want?
We're going to get past that.
Do we want to go back to? Well, I don't think we can ever go back to business as usual in politics in this country since this experiment has gone on. I mean, I don't think we can go back to the old way of doing things. Things have to be a little bit different going into the next term.
Yeah, think about it already. We've already seen a huge change in our politics since the inauguration of the current president. We have the Me Too movement, which is not going away. I mean, the head of Ford Motor Company for North America just got axed because of the Me Too movement. There's an effort now to impeach one of the justices on the Supreme Court for the Me Too movement. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Look at these 18-year-olds. In the year 2000, 3.9 million Americans were born. 3.9 million. They can all vote in 2020.
It's a lot of votes going whichever way.
Think about it. And these kids now, the ones that we see in Florida,
I was just
they're
gonna
not
say
going to
that.
take any shit from anybody. It's like, look, we are scared to death to go to school, and you haven't done anything about it my entire life. I was born after Columbine, and you still can't get it right. They murder 25 and 6-year-olds, and you still can't get it right. These people are not going to shut up. These people are... That's the change.
Nor should they.
That's the change. That's how we're going to have massive generational change here. This would be like if the Queen of England abdicated the throne, told her son, nope, you can't have it either, and they go to one of the grandsons. I mean, we're going to have a big change like that. We're going from a very old establishment, baby boomer-centric politics for 20, 30, 40 years to, boom, It's going to miss a generation or two. And these 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds and 16-year-olds, they're the generation that's going to make things happen. They're not going to let their congressmen get away with it. They're going to keep confronting them face to face. And what's the congressman going to say to these 16 and 18-year-olds? Just, that's the way it is. Yeah. It's the Second Amendment.
Well, hopefully it's not, they don't just pitch posh it, because it's not, like you said, it's not going to go away. I mean, I got to commend, and I'm fairly impressed with these high school kids. So quickly after something like that happening, to go and make a difference and try and do something to change the way things are done.
It's visceral, it's guttural, it's spoken from the heart. There's that anger and rage, and it's not going away. They live through something. We've seen them all on TV for so long, but we never really heard the kids come out and say, "Stop it! Stop making us see this." Those of them who survive, look at all those things they can't unsee and sounds they can't unhear, and they don't want other kids to have to go through that. In the past, it's always been the parents that would go to Congress and lobby and get on TV and start these nonprofits. Yeah. We had a congresswoman who was shot in the head. Yeah. And Congress did nothing.
Yeah. I mean, the state of things now are, we are definitely on a tipping point right now, where, I mean, I think we're actually beyond the tipping point. I think we're definitely starting to slide down the other side, because, and I'm going to say he lasted about 3 months longer than I thought he was going to.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he
thought he was getting impeached by the end of the year.
But he actually came out and said he wanted to ban stuff. Trump is in favor of banning stuff.
Okay,
so,
well,
you never know.
I take that with a grain of salt, okay? Because I don't know if you watched this a few months ago. He did wasn't a press conference. It was basically a meeting that he allowed some media in to
film. That he likes.
And he really just kind of sat there and shook his head and agreed with anybody who was speaking.
Well, that's the thing. That's why he might change his mind tomorrow. Somebody will tell him another side of the argument. He'll say, "Oh, yeah, I like that better."
But I want to ask you, have we ever seen a turnover rate like his administration has had?
No.
Ever in the history of the United States government?
No.
I mean, he's had people that he's brought in, they've been fired or resigned. Right. He brought new people in who have now been fired and resigned. I mean, I don't think he has anybody except for Donald Jr.
and
who's
Sessions.
and Sessions.
One of the other
things
things
is started on that guy.
With so many of the employees in the White House that have not been able to get a security clearance, that number's up to about 130 of those employees they can't get it.
Right.
And usually after a year, you usually know after a couple of months that you're not going to be able to get it. They've managed to spread this out for a year. And so there could be a day where 130 people are out of the White House because, and add that to the turnover that there's already been. And part of the reason is people don't want to work for this guy because he's not honest. He doesn't have a core. He doesn't stand for anything. So you can't really trust him. He tweets things out that are contra to what he was for the day before. And if you're working for him and trying to explain things for him, you start to look bad. And, if you look at his chief of staff, John Kelly, he was a 4-star Marine Corps general. He had a stellar reputation. And now it's all been tarnished.
See, I honestly thought he was going to help bring this thing around a little bit. And you can see, it's visible in his face whenever he's on camera behind the president that he feels like he's just a babysitter at this point. I mean, you can read it all over his body language, which is unfortunate because for someone of his credentials and probably his brilliant mind, it's being wasted in a position that he's not even listening to.
Right. All those years in the military, and we all know the military has a pecking order, they have discipline, and you just don't see that in the White House.
Right. I mean,
But you're right. We are going through massive generational change, and we see it not just in the politics, but also in the cannabis. I mean, look at how many states now are racing to legalize. There are states in the flyover country that are like, oh, we got to get medical marijuana in quick. We got to get medical marijuana in. All the states are going to have some kind of marijuana. We got to get some kind of marijuana. We got to do medical marijuana. And you're thinking, North Dakota, really? You're going to Indiana? Seriously?
It's good farming areas. But now
flying over.
I had read I think there's 4 states that are predicted to legalize it this year in some way or another that isn't. It's either medical or for recreational if they're already medical.
I would think it's more than that because we've already had Vermont.
They're officially...
Yeah.
Okay, so
they
We're going to get New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Through the legislature and the governor.
Now, does that help with New York coming on board?
Yeah, I'll
Because
tell
I
you,
know they've been resistant.
Yeah, New York realizes, in fact, the governor of New York was quoted within the last couple of weeks as saying something like, well, if it's legal in Massachusetts and it's legal in New Jersey, it's going to be going through New York, so we've got to be able to get something in there somewhere. Or something to that effect.
Right.
We can't not be illegal if our 2 neighboring states are legal. But no, for this year, we've got Vermont, New Jersey, then Maryland, and they can all do it through the legislature, maybe even Rhode Island. And then Michigan in November is going to vote for it. And it's got 55-60% approval in the polls in Michigan. Michigan is a for sure. I'm calling it a for sure.
How many states does it take to... I mean, I know there's no... well, I don't know. I'm assuming there's no actual number that even if 49 out of the 50 states make it statewide legal at a state level, that it doesn't... It's not going to... It doesn't have to influence the federal.
I think the...
I mean, it should at that point.
I think the federal will change, not via number of states, because we've already passed the tipping point on that. We're up to more than 29. I think it's 29 or 30, with either medical or adult use. So we've already passed the tipping point on number of states. It could happen later tonight with the president tweeting that I've descheduled cannabis. Sessions was wrong on marijuana, so I fired him. I mean, we could see that.
Yeah.
Think about that. All of a sudden we got... Because he wants to get rid of Sessions, that's a good way to do it. Hey, you're not up to speed with marijuana, man. The country's behind legalizing and you're dragging your feet. You're going to go after people? What's the matter with you? You're out of here. You're fired.
Is he still really one of the major roadblocks? Yes. I know he is a roadblock.
As much as the Attorney General can be, he is. But if you look at the western states, the governor of Washington basically laughed at him. The governor of Oregon actually wrote him a letter and said, basically, you're crazy if you think that our state police or county sheriffs or local municipal police are going to help you carry out any raids of any legal business in our state.
Good.
Because the feds can't do it. Right. They don't have the manpower or the money to shut down this industry. I go to these meetings in Massachusetts now, and I see some of the things they're arguing over, this little minor petty minutia. It's like, guys, we've already done all that. Have you gone out west? It's been legal there for 5 years. You can walk into a store and buy it like a 6-pack of beer. And you have been able to for 5 years.
Right.
This isn't something new. The industry's been up and running for 5 years. Let's catch up. Yeah. I mean, don't start over. Start where we already are.
I mean, you would think that the statistics just by countries who've already legalized it fully... And like you said, the states that have done it, it's been out west for 5 years now where they've seen these statistics be debunked, how it can lead to other drugs. Aren't they using it to wean people off opioids?
It really works as a wean off opioids. It really does.
Instead of using other opioids.
But it's not so much that it helps people come down from opioids, which it does, but as an alternative to opioids. If you live in a medical marijuana state, you are much less likely to get addicted to opioids or have an opioid overdose or die of opioids. And the reason is really simple. Oh, I can go over there and buy this legally and numb my mind for a couple hours and I'm not going to OD and die.
Or catch alcohol poisoning.
Right. So, studies prove it out. In states where you have medical marijuana, there's fewer opioid-related illnesses, overdoses, and deaths. And it's just a simple choice. Most people realize that opioids are bad. Everybody now knows they will kill you at some point. And so, nobody dies from cannabis.
Not never. Not one person. Not never.
You may feel like it if you eat a lot of brownies, though. If there's a great audio of a police officer that confiscated, I think like a quarter or something from some kids and made brownies, and him and his wife ate the whole tray.
Oh, and the cop who called 911?
Yeah, dude,
I have heard that.
He calls it up and he's freaking out like, I think we're dying. My wife's laying on the ground. She's not breathing. Is she dead? Well, no, she's breathing. It's just time's moving by really slow. Like, it panics, and it's like, what is wrong with you?
He ain't dead. He gonna wake up in 30 minutes, eat up everything in the house.
He gonna wake up for a day. Wake up for a day. So, what is the company now? Saying I definitely botched that at the beginning. I'm very curious as...
Well, it gets back to what I was talking about earlier. To start a venture capital fund requires a lot of legal documents, which are really, really expensive, because venture funds generally run in the millions, tens of millions of dollars.
I definitely don't have that.
So, $500,000 or so in legal fees is, a drop in the bucket for the overall cost of the fund. When you're trying to do a little startup, right, and keep it at $3 million or less, so you don't have to go through all the SEC protocols. That's Securities and Exchange Commission. You don't have to go through all their rules and regs and protocols, because $3 million and under they consider a friends and family fund. It's not going to be registered, so they don't have to look at it. So what I found now over the last 2 years, since I've been looking at getting into the cannabis industry, I found that there are hundreds and hundreds of legal businesses in this country that could use a little bit of financial help, but they can't go to the bank to get a loan. So if they have a profitable business, which is one of the criteria I look for, and they've been in business, 2 or 3 years, which so many of them have now, because we've been legal for longer than that, they've got a good business going, they'd like to expand, totally legal, but they can't get a working capital loan from the bank. They can't borrow money to grow.
Yeah.
The only way they can grow is through cash flow or new money. And if you can't get the new money from the bank, then generally you go to the investment bank or the venture capital or the...
They call them angel funds, and there was a whole list of different ways to get capital. I went to a small business seminar to as we start to grow this more, just to learn. Although the seminar that I went to was like for very, very beginners. Like, there were people there that, well, I just know I want to start one. I don't really have an idea yet. What?
What are you doing here?
Why are you here?
You should be at home trying to figure out what you want to do.
You guys would be surprised how many times I get asked that question. Just my background, having worked on Wall Street firms for 28 years, people would come to me all the time and say they wanted to start a business, right?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of business? Well, I don't know yet. I haven't thought about that.
I just know I want to do something.
So you're doing it completely backwards.
Yeah.
You've got to have an idea to start a business. You've got to come up with something that somebody else hasn't already come up with. It has to be new. It has to be different. It has to be enticing, attractive. There's got to be a need for it. There's got to be... the world cannot get by without this. Otherwise, why do it?
That would be OCD podcast. You can't get by without it.
That's right. No, man,
Cannot get by without
it.
it.
You need to listen.
And that's exactly why I'm here.
Now, is it illegal for people to... okay, let me rephrase that. Not illegal. Is it not really... Is it frowned upon to go to... for those businesses to go to places like Kickstarter or the GoFundMe? Are they allowed to take that kind of money from the public and donations to fund business expansion? Or is that not really practical for a lot of the businesses that you're talking about?
It's interesting that you asked that. The Securities and Exchange Commission a few years ago eased a restriction on doing exactly that. So the answer to your question is yes, you can. All right. So then the next question is, would you, or why would you,
right,
or should you? And I think that's an individual decision. That's left up to every business owner, every entrepreneur who is trying to attract money to his cannabis related company? Is that the best way to do it? Because if you do it that way, you're totally public.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who you are and what you're doing and how much money you're
Right.
looking for. And if you get it, great. Now everybody knows you got it. Now there's a lot of pressure. What are you going to do? If you don't get it, everybody knows you didn't get it because, you made a big deal of it on the internet.
Right.
So
Now
yeah, you can do it.
With that, people aren't guaranteed. I mean, that money's not protected. These people are not investors if they go that route, right? These people are more donations.
No, I think for Kickstarter, you have to offer something. So there's tiers. So if you're spending this amount, you're basically investing. You as the person asking for money, you owe them something depending on how much they give, and you make special packages.
Right.
Like Roots of Creation did a song, an album recently. It's like a Grateful Dead songs redone reggae. And to get the album made, they did a Kickstarter campaign, and depending on how much you donated, you were given so much stuff. Like, this is a digital copy, $15 digital copy. If you're spending $25, you get a hard copy plus a
Right,
t-shirt
it's
or
product
something.
based. It's not like they can sell shares of a small company through Kickstarter or whatever.
I think they can.
Can you promise
I
a
think they
percentage
can.
of the company?
I think they can, yeah.
Huh.
Damn, but that's a lot of percentages if you want, depending
Or
on how much you're
shares,
asking
however
for.
they.
Yeah.
All right, so let me contrast that. Let me contrast all of that with what I do. And this is what the Full Tilt On Ventures has kind of morphed into. When we started that, like I said, our anticipation was we were going to create a $3 million venture fund. Well, in the amount of time that we had, I was able to find a couple dozen businesses that were in our dollar range to invest in. The problem is I was not able to find the investors to put up the money. And what I learned during this process, in the last 2 years, I've spoken either on the phone or in person at a conference or convention with, now I'm up to 585 different legal cannabis companies. They all have one thing in common. They think that their product or gadget or whatever, fertilizer, soil, is the greatest in the industry. They all have that confidence, which is just wonderful to see because you see that it's this new industry and everybody's really excited about it. So out of those 585 companies that I've spoken with, I've visited now more than 90 in 5 different states. And what I've realized is the biggest need in the industry kind of coincides with a desire in the public. And that's for the industry to get funding and for the public to make it happen. So instead of a venture fund, which I explained earlier is time-consuming, legally challenging, in the sense that there's a lot of legal work that you have to go through. And I just decided that I'm going to be like an old 19th century Jewish matchmaker. Period. But instead of putting a boy and a girl together to make a good Jewish family, I'm going to put people with money together with people in the industry who need it. And as a matchmaker, all I'm doing is saying, hey, you need to meet him. You two guys can do this. I'm working with a law firm here that will help you draft a legally binding, confidential agreement that the two of you are happy with. And so that's my holding company, acwg.co, acwg.co for those of you listening at home. And that's it, ACWG Holdings.
I mean, it's a fascinating thing, and this is going to be something that's going to explode here because I think we had touched on it before last time that you were in a small documentary I had watched about products outside of everything but cannabis. Like, it's everything you would need for a growing system as
Right.
a company. It's basically a Home Depot for, and so what they were doing was they were going to some of these smaller investment firms, and what I was getting to earlier was that these firms were interested in helping these companies and, you know, by investing and helping these companies grow, but they didn't really want to talk about it. They were putting their newer people on this stuff. They were taking on these clients in this industry without really even making it known. I mean, not that it was on, you know, illegal terms. They were doing everything legally, but they didn't really want to talk about it. They didn't really want to make an association with their firm. But they were funding these companies and blew up. I mean, the one that they showed it exploded in Arizona and Nevada. Like, they had, like, I don't know, 30 of these grow depots where you can buy everything except for the cannabis and the seeds.
Right. Grow Depot. I like that. Was that the name of their company?
No. It was,
That's a good.
It really is. It is
tagline.
so perfect.
It's close.
Ching, ching.
It's close.
Trademarked. OCD,
It was,
you heard it here first.
Right. Trademarked. It was a hydroponics company, basically. They sold everything for hydroponics,
Right.
except for the seeds. Like, everything from the fertilizer and the pots you put it in to the light bulbs and the way to help to set it up. And it was basically a Home Depot for grow stuff.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
I mean, are these the kind of the companies too that can search out somebody who's interested in maybe doing something not exactly with cannabis?
Absolutely. And that gets into another aspect of what we're actually investing in. And it's not just the cannabis with the THC that gets you high. It's the cannabis with the CBD that gets you well.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's trademark that too. Ding, ding.
There you go.
Because cannabis CBD oil is legal in, I thought it was 44, 46 states. I was updated like a couple hours ago that it's actually legal in all 50 states. And that's the stuff that 100% of the population can use, and so can your pets. You know, anybody with an endocannabinoid system.
If it's legal to get
Cannabinoid?
CBD oil in every state, how come you can't get it in every state?
Because seeds.
Because of the seeds?
Seeds. Where do you get the seeds to grow it? Yeah, you can grow it, but where do you get the seeds?
Yeah. Can you mute that?
It is muted.
That's muted.
That's muted.
Ding dink is
Yeah.
muted.
See, I've got this thing on my phone that occasionally a word will like activate it. It's like Surrey, but
It's called the government. Oh, you have Bigsby.
dude, yeah, Bixby. Don't start the government thing. You know what happened last time. Started talking about the government and some noise went off.
Phones went off. Phones are going off crazy. Is that your phone? Come on, sound guy Lenny.
Might not be.
Lenny, you should know better.
Why don't we take a break right there? I take a piss. I gotta get a beer. And we'll come back and dive deeper in on how it works. Because I know last time, I believe it was like $3,000 would get you in. So I'm curious on details of how to go about it if people are interested. And we can tackle that whole animal.
Yeah, I've kept it to $3,000 because I think if I did anything less than that, it would be, you know, grandma's got her 86 cents or something. It's like, you know what? If $3,000 is too much, get 8 friends or 10 friends and pool it together and have a little club.
Like I said, I got a bunch of people asking. Take a break right there.
Well, I mean, if that's too much, you can cut it. I was just gonna say, if $3,000 is too much, you're probably not ready to invest anyways.
Well, wait.
You're good. Perfect. For the second half of the broadcast, I'll be sipping a Stone
Ripper.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I've had.
I just raided the studio beer fridge and started
If you
drinking.
look at it a little too quickly, it looks like stripper.
Yeah, it kind of does.
What else did I had? I had their Adventure. It's
Haven't had that one
two
yet.
people's names. There's a bottle in there. You can take one home with you. It's two people's names. Something Adventure Double IPA. It's pretty good. I like Stone. I think.
I see you took my Stormtrooper off the center of the table there.
Well, I was giving room for people, and I wanted a cuddle buddy.
Okay, fine.
There. Did you see this last time? Were you here?
No, I don't think we had the prototype last time he was here.
No.
So this is
our sponsor.
Sponsor Smoke Proper. You can put your
Smoke
dry
proper.
storage up in here. Has
What do you say, 1,500 feet?
no 15 feet.
Oh, 15 feet. All individually.
Whoa.
Then you can just roll.
Nice.
Has a snubber. If you already have pre-rolls, you can store them in. It is smell resistant.
Water resistant.
So you can go on your hikes or whatever you like to get down with. And then inside, in the ones that you can buy now, there's a magnet here to hold in the roach clip.
You
Wow.
can take one of these if you want.
Smoke proper, huh?
Yeah.
This is all the specs on it and the company right there. Yep. It's a nice little all-in-one
Wow.
for tobacco use, of course.
Oh, of course,
or
exactly.
legal use.
Or
of,
legal
of
medical use.
Yeah,
medical
like
or
that be the
recreational. If you're in
case.
Massachusetts or in
Yeah, or-
California or Oregon or Washington,
But we're
Colorado,
in New Hampshire, so it
Right.
is a
Yeah.
it is a tobacco use product
or medically,
or medical use
if you were here.
if you're here.
But if you're not,
But if you're in California, where
Massachusetts.
You're
whatever it's
16
legal,
miles down
Yeah.
the road.
in
if you're in Massachusetts, do what you want with
all
it.
day,
But
all
for
day.
here,
All day, every day.
all day,
All day.
where our show is
right now.
right now, hopefully
Right
not
here.
for long, but right now.
Wow, you are pretty old, sound guy, Lenny. Oh, look, he's got a new t-shirts on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get him to give me some new shit.
I like that.
Yeah, that's this right here. That's the Roman
Yeah.
kit, $20. If you use OCD at time of checkout, you'll save yourself 10%, which is basically shipping.
Pretty much.
So, free shipping.
It's a quality product,
But-
man. I see how you roll, though, man. That's.
What? What
well,
you mean?
I'm just looking at the size of the sample you pulled off, and it seems like it's a little bit on the larger size.
Well, it,
That's king size.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know, and just
but you can do whatever size you want. I'm more,
yes, you can customize it however you want.
I'm more of
however
like
you're
a
feeling for that
juvenile
day.
size.
It depends on how I'm feeling. Some days it's just a couple quick. Some days it's like, oh my god, these fucking people.
It's because you go all day without the tobacco and
Yeah, you know, sitting at anyway. So if somebody wanted in to, I already forgot the ACWG.
WG.
you were halfway there.
ACWG.
How do they go about it?
The easiest way is to go to accessroger.com.
You want to pull that back up?
Right there.
It's all spelled out
It'll
for
be
you.
in the slow
Really?
show notes.
Whether
too.
you want to be an owner of a cannabis business, whether you want to put in $3,000 or $3 million, whether you're a cannabis company that's looking for funding, access me, Roger, accessroger.com.
There it is.
Not
Not
Axel.
not
Access.
yeah.
Axel Rose.
Access is yeah. I think you miss
Yeah,
a key.
you spelled Axel. If you want, bring it to your side, and you can.
Refit. Yeah, that TV sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's just old. Don't hurt my feelings.
I almost wanted to donate a better TV to you, but it was
Anytime.
smaller. So what are people looking at for a minimum if they would just want to invest in one of these companies? They got a little bit of disposable income. They're not sure about like the stock market right now. They're not sure about cryptocurrency. They want to invest their money in something.
I'll tell you, if you have money in the stock market or cryptocurrency, you've probably seen the value of your money go up in the last year or so. So now instead of owning cryptocurrency or owning stocks, maybe you want to own cannabis-related companies. And to do that, you go to accessroger.com. ACCESS Roger.com. For those of you at home. Yeah.
There are people noting that right now.
And typing on the keyboard.
And so what I'm doing is I've put together a company, a holding company, ACWG, for Access, I don't know, Cannabis Weed Group, acwg.co. That's the address of the holding company. And the easiest way to get there is accessroger.com. It spells it all out for you. Like I said, whether you want to put in 3,000 or 3 million, whether you're looking for 50,000 or 10 million, all the instructions are right there.
It's a good picture right there.
That was taken at HempFest back in 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016.
Where was that at?
That was in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
That was the year I was running for state senate here in New Hampshire, and I was invited to speak out at the HempFest in front of like 100,000 people.
That's awesome. That's a lot of
They
people.
weren't all right there in front of me at that
no,
moment, but that's
still-
how many people attend the festival. Or Protestival, as it was originally called.
Yeah. Now,
He's trying to read and think
talk
of
at the same-
and
and
talk
think of
and
the-
think of and his question in a articulate it.
are you running? Are you going to run this year?
Well, just like in 2014, I really don't want to, but I don't want there to be, a blank ballot.
Yeah.
If we don't find somebody to run, I would do it again. I don't really want to. I think it would be great if we could find a qualified woman to run, because I think this will be another year of the woman. I think women have a much better chance to win this year, and especially in the 11th Senate District where Gary Daniels is the incumbent, and I've run against him a couple of times. He can easily dismiss me and say, oh, that's just Tilton running against me again. I don't need to debate him or engage him or even talk about him. But you get a qualified woman, he can't do that to her. He can't dismiss her and say...
no, that's a bad look.
Right. If I do it, I'd have to raise a lot of money. A lot of money could beat him. But as you see, I've got a lot of other things going on, and I'd rather concentrate on building my little holding company than taking on Gary Daniels.
Right. So anybody who's interested in maybe making a difference out there.
If you live in Merrimack or Milford or Amherst or Wilton, you're 18 years old or older on November the 6th, you can run for Senate, provided you've lived in the district for 7 years, or the state for 7 years.
Did I just see a twinkle in your eye?
I thought about running.
He doesn't look like a woman, though.
I am.
Apparently, that's all you've thought of. Or that's all you've done is thought about running.
You will shut your mouth.
I think that was a sight gag, folks.
It's a good thing we're on video.
Oh, good. So everybody can see the shape of my joke.
Oh.
Sorry.
Just because you decided to wear a sweatshirt today.
You better keep that in there too.
I will. That was quality dig.
So
Quality dig.
yeah,
I've been.
I'm known for them.
I'm very interested in investing in not even just this. I mean, cryptocurrency also, but I definitely want to get into this. I know, like I said, I've had a few people reach out to me after our first one, like,
Right.
how do I get in? I don't know yet. I'll have them back on. We'll figure it out because I'm curious. I want to know details. Like, how do you pull your money if I'm investing in Joe's Smoke Shop that is a dispensary in wherever in Massachusetts, and they start doing well? How do I get my money back? Like, what am I getting for an ROI?
Usually the way that you'll get your money back is when you sell your interest to somebody else. When somebody else wants in, that gives you an opportunity to get out.
Yeah, you don't get like an annuity or a percentage of that all the time, right?
Well, not until the company gets big enough to have so much excess cash flow that they can pay out dividends to the holders. Yeah. But this industry is quite a ways from that.
Yep.
This is really in the startup growth, hyper growth. Most companies or industries go on an S curve where they'll start out with 0% of the market, right? And then they're in startup phase, and that can last anywhere from 0 to maybe 36 months, and they've got maybe 0 to 1% of the market, and they're making it, and then they click. And then they go from 1% to 10%. And then over the next maybe couple years, they go from 10% up to 90%. And then you have your S curve. You're up in the 100 to 90% market penetration, and then it slides down to where you started out at 0. So where you want to get in on the industry is when it starts that uptick, that major uptick, when it goes from maybe 10% saturation to 90%. And that's where all the growth is. And we're not even to that point yet. We're still maybe a year or 2 years away from even getting to hyper growth. I mean, we're still really in the infancy of this industry. So if you put money in now, you shouldn't expect to get it out for about 5 years, because that gives you enough time to really make something of it. And the beauty of a startup, to use the term venture fund, is you've got these companies that could go from 0 to $1 billion, in 5 years. And that's generally how venture funds work. You hit one multi-bagger homer and you could lose everything on everything else. But that's how it works. I don't think cannabis is going to be like that. I mean, I already see in the companies that I've looked at and gone to visit, many of them now are in distress because they've bumped their head on what they can do with their cash flow. And without new money, they can't do anything else. So they're in distress. Yeah. If they want to grow their business, they need money. The only way they can get it is from a vulture. What are you going to do? You going to take the money, or are you going to let your business fail? These guys are too proud. They love what they've developed, accomplished, built. They're not going to let it fail. The best thing that I can do as the owner and manager of a holding company is say, look, I'll give you this much if you give me this much ownership in your company, and I will help you with my broad network to build your X%. So now you have the incentive to still run your business with a partner who's going to help you. And at some point, one of us will buy out the other. And to get back to your question, there's your exit.
Right.
The original owner buys out us who helped him get from A to B, or 10 to 90, and everybody goes away happy.
Now, a lot of this money that's going to be investing in something, especially so young, is going to be young money. New money. It's young money. It's younger kids who, let's be real here. People who are going to be investing in stuff over the next 5 years are basically kids. I mean, a lot of this new money that's coming up is from a lot of unorthodox ways. Streaming, video games, YouTubers, music that people are able to get out on a totally different. These are the people who are going to be hopefully investing money and not blowing it. Like, what can you tell them, or in comparison, for somebody who might want to invest a little bit of that money in this? What kind of products come out of that? Like, what kind of businesses come out of this type of venture capitalism?
Well,
anything like that they can relate to. To
the kids, I'd say keep investing. Keep putting your money in. When people talk about investing, really all they're talking about is exchanging their money for a valuation of a company in hopes that that valuation will go up over time or pay a dividend. So nothing has really changed there. What we are seeing, though, is millennials have a keener eye toward investing some of the money that they earn, whereas their parents and grandparents did not. And part of the reason for that is the economy now is different than when their parents and grandparents were their age. Yeah. So we're in an ever-changing economy. To get back to the other part of your question, what should they invest in, or what types of companies? That's almost always going to be a personal decision. Do you want to invest or have your money associated with a cannabis touching entity, like, say, a grower, because it's illegal and they get busted? You're out of money, right? Or do you want to have your money associated with a magazine that has a new cultural outlook, or lifestyle magazine on how cannabis is changing the demographics? That's not going to get busted because it's not touching the plant. Do you want to invest in the software that the states require you have as a grower, distributor, retailer. There's a lot of different aspects of the industry to invest in. What I'm doing with my company is offering the same type of top flight service that I gave to my clients when I was an investment advisor. I didn't advertise. I wasn't out there hawking my wares. I was just doing confidential transactions.
Right.
And nothing really changes. Each individual gets individual attention. What are you trying to accomplish? How much money do you have? What's your time frame? It's the same questions I've asked for 30 years.
Okay. I would just think that those are the people who would be more likely and all in to invest in a cannabis product of any way, like accessory products, growing, whatever it is.
When you're investing,
that's what I was saying.
You're not investing into the plants; you're investing into the equipment.
No, I understand that. There are companies, but there are growers out.
Think about
vape pens.
Think about
stuff like that.
Yeah, like a vape pen, for instance. The vape pen has nothing to do with the plant itself or touching the plant. For instance, recently, a couple days ago, I was in Seattle. I bought a Vuber battery. Not even the whole vape pen. I just bought the battery for $20. And the battery, because now we're starting to get uniform cartridges where you have what's called the 510. It's a 5 on the outside and a 10 on the inside, or maybe I have that wrong. I don't even know, but it's threading, right?
Yeah.
So it's universal now. And then it's all about, how ease of use, right? This one you happen to click 5 times. And you get a nice little vape out of it.
Yeah.
Now, this is a great company. They're going to sell a lot of these $20 batteries. And I'm telling you, they're disposable, okay? The last one I had lasted about 6 months. Wow. And I went back and said, it doesn't work anymore. He said, how much do you pay for it? I said, I don't know. I bought the whole unit. He says, well, here's one for $20. And I'm thinking, if I have to spend $20 every 6 months,
that's a good deal right
that's
there.
A really good deal. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so, I went to CannaCon last week ago Friday now with my brother who lives in the Seattle area still. He didn't know what had happened in this industry, since he last smoked weed in high school. And he's a year older than me, right? And he knows that I'm in the business. And he said he was going to CannaCon. And I said, really? What day? And he said, Friday. I said, great, I'll go with you. So I went there for work. I went to every single exhibitor to, see if they would be a fit for my company, if I would want to own part of them. And so, as we first started going exhibitor to exhibitor, he's bullshitting with everybody. I'm like, I'm on a mission. I've only got one day to do this because I had to be back in New Hampshire. So I'm going to all the exhibitors and I'm talking to them, and I got through the whole thing in about 4.5 hours, and I got about 30 or 40 new contacts that are going to be important contacts. And a lot of them are like the battery company, the non-cannabis touching entity that is going to sell 1 billion of these over time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be the company you want. What blew my brother away was that you could buy a processor that would take something like 22 pounds of weed, which is a kilo, and press it down into oil to use in either oil-based, dab-based, food, drinks, tinctures, edibles, whatever. $490,000 for that piece of equipment that does that.
Damn.
And there were a lot of companies out there that had really pricey equipment. And so he's asking me, why? And I said, think about this. Marijuana as a plant is a commodity. It grows like a weed. Insert joke here, right? Because it is. So where's the value for the person that's selling this commodity? Cheerios is just made out of oats and cornflakes are just made out of corn, but they add some value to those raw commodities and turn them into something that has a lot more value that we would exchange even more value to them in dollars. We'll give you this many dollars for that bag of cornflakes. Same's going to be true for cannabis because already in Oregon, there's oversupply. It grows like a weed. They've overgrown. They've got too much. They can't take it across state lines. Prices are plummeting, right? So the question is, and what I look for at a convention or in a company is, how is this company going to create enough value from this commodity to charge a price that the consumer will pay that will keep you in business, make a profit, and continue on for years? Right? Yeah. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go into a retail store and you're going to see a little sandwich sign outside that says, spend $50 on vapes, we'll give you an eighth of an ounce of flour for free. So 3.5 grams of what we used to call marijuana, pot, dope, weed. Now they call it flour because it's a giveaway. It's a commodity. It's free, right? But if you can press it down into a cute little cartridge, push a button a couple of times, inhale some vapor, exhale some H2O vapor, wow, then you've got something. Then you can lure people into your store to give away free weed. And that's where we're going. So, you know, my brother's looking at all these different extraction devices, devices that, I don't know, you use CO2 or butane and you clean the weed and it turns into it's like, the scientists are loving it, and we're getting good science out of this again. I mean, we're getting really good science, just like we did when we went to the moon. You know, you create a new industry, you're going to get entrepreneurs and scientists who are going to go nuts. There's a company in New York, and I just learned about another one in Colorado, that are putting together the DNA of the cannabis strains, and then they're matching those strains to certain ailments like cancer, and they've identified strains of cannabis that will attack and kill cancer cells.
I've heard Maine's doing the same thing.
I've heard that.
I forget the company.
So that's...
But yeah, there's a company in Maine that
I've heard
can
about
match you up.
Yeah,
so
I've
that's
heard about
another...
this.
That's another aspect of, you know, if I was going to put my money in the cannabis industry, where would I put it? Well, I put it into the scientific research into matching strains with cancer.
Yeah, I think I saw another one for Parkinson's.
Good head start on the video.
That was the article I read. Was
Video.
they were targeting Parkinson's through these oils and
On the
like the
video?
direct amounts of.
That's not going. Oh, is it going? It's my bad. I'm an idiot. Don't mind me.
Who's that guy talking
Apologize.
over in the distance?
Yeah.
That would be
Is that
Lenny,
background noise?
That would be Lenny, our sound
I don't think
guy.
Lenny was saying anything.
Anyway, apologize for that. Sorry.
So there are so many different aspects of this new industry, and it's just now getting started. I mean, we're not even close yet to 10%.
Which is funny to think, because California, Seattle, Oregon, they've been in it for so long. Colorado's been in it for so long, and it's like the rest of the world's like, oh shit, I want to miss out.
The reason I asked it was because I think there's. I mean, I don't know this, but I think there's more new money now than there ever was. People at a younger age are developing wealth in different ways than we did. Our parents. I mean, there are kids. There are people out there. Everybody, YouTubers, but not just those YouTubers. Aside from the content they're making through YouTube and that money, they're taking some of that big money that they're making doing day trading, investing in these. Kind of what you're doing. I mean, they're investing in these new companies, these new things that are coming along.
Well, think about
automated cars, and they're invested in those small companies.
Think about all the money that's come out of Seattle in the last 20 years. First, it was Microsoft, and they created more millionaires per capita than any other publicly traded company ever had, and that was all in Seattle in the late 80s and early 90s. And then in the mid 90s, Amazon came along. And now Amazon dominates the Seattle economy. They have something like 70,000 employees just downtown.
Wow.
Just downtown Seattle. They've built something like 13 or 14 high-rise buildings in downtown Seattle. The whole city has been rejuvenated because of this one company. They've built 2 geodesic domes in downtown Seattle. And think about those 70,000 people that average $100,000 a year salary. That's a lot of money going into the economy. And the new wealth that you talk about, and I can speak to this firsthand, having worked as a financial advisor on both coasts for major Wall Street firms. On the West Coast, where I'm from, all this new money, the people that have it are really proud of it. Look what I did. Look what I made. Look what I earned. Look what my company stock gave to me. Look at how much I have. Look what I can do with it. You know, a lot of charitable stuff. New money, pride, come to the East Coast, especially New England. It's like old money.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you where I got it. I'm not telling you what I got. No, I'm holding it real close. Right. So it's a big, big difference. So to get people to invest in cannabis, it makes sense that it's all out on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I'm in, man. I want some.
It's an interesting conversation. I mean, if you got disposable income and you can hit a certain benchmark of, you know, the $3,000 or whatever. I mean, if you're looking to invest, I mean, it's something worth risking a little bit of money on. I mean, if you're not, though, if you can't put in that money and you can't risk taking that money, we've gone over this before with the cryptocurrency and stuff. You don't put your money in if you can't have it.
Yeah, if you don't have fuck you money, then you can't.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like it's.
But one thing about this I've noticed, and I think I was telling you in the pre-interview before we started the show, I patterned my company to help a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who was a Navy SEAL for 6 years, and when he retired to Colorado, and he started building houses, and moved to Nantucket, continued to build houses. Moved to Nantucket because he met a woman who was on vacation skiing. They ended up getting married. She lived in Nantucket, so that's where he lives now. And that's where I met him. And so he's been bugging me for 15 years. How do I invest in marijuana? And I'm telling him, 15 years ago, well, it's illegal. You can't do it. Well, yeah, there's this and there's that. No. Stay away from it. Okay, so it gets legalized. Okay, now where do I invest? Where do I put my money in? So you got to wait a little bit longer. It's still illegal on the federal level. There will be a way. Then Washington and Colorado are legal, and now Canada's legal, and it's on the pink sheets, the penny stocks. And I say, no, you can't do the penny stocks. They're just rip-offs. You'll never get anywhere. Canada, I want to buy some Canadian stocks. They're like, no, that's Canada. You don't really want to put your... Roger, where can I put my money? I want to put my money in cannabis. And I'm thinking, you know what? Cliff needs to be able to put his money somewhere. This isn't right. In order to invest in a venture fund, you need to be a 1%er, an uber 1%er. You have to be what's called a qualified investor, an accredited investor. You have to adhere to Schedule D, all these SEC regulations. And what it comes down to is basically you have to have $1 million in cash on your kitchen table. If you don't have that kind of liquidity, you don't qualify to be an accredited investor. You don't qualify to invest in risky investments like venture capital. So you're screwed. And I'm thinking, that's not right. This guy served his country 6 years as a Navy SEAL. All he wants to do is participate in capitalism. And you're denying him that right by having these rules and regulations. And I'm thinking, well, what if I do it the way Warren Buffett did it? Warren Buffett bought a company in Worcester, Massachusetts, and New Bedford, Massachusetts, one called Berkshire, one called Hathaway, merged them together, and the rest, as they say, is history. His little company of 2 mills...
Rich ass history.
Yeah, but he did it
Yeah.
one cobblestone at a time. He built his company by acquiring one company at a time, or by acquiring an interest in a company at a time, which led him to buy shares of stock of some of America's finest corporations. So Berkshire Hathaway actually owns percentages of Coca-Cola and American Express and some of the biggest banks. And that's a holding company. So what I'm doing is I'm putting together a holding company where I will hold your money and I will make
connections to
cannabis.
Move that money, like hook you up with other people.
My holding company will own parts of or all of some cannabis and cannabis-related companies. Simple as that. And so Cliff can now own what he wants to own without having to worry about Schedule D, SEC, Million Liquid.
I got to use that Schedule D somewhere else. I got like 5 jokes that ran through my head on that.
Yeah, what's Schedule A, B, and C, and how does Schedule E feel about all this?
Yeah, no, I'm just worried about the Schedule D. Now I have a quick question. You were talking about Amazon and 70,000 people in downtown that are employed by Amazon. Is there a point where a company gets so large that there's no longer... I mean, if that company starts to struggle, not a monopoly, but if that company starts to struggle, you have so much of your workforce and concentrated in an area that if they got to start laying off people, now you got to start taking some of those 70,000 people and putting them on the unemployment line, which now affects other parts of the area that they live in. So is there a point where a company gets to where it's not as much of a risk for them? Is that...
I see what you're saying.
I don't know if that made 100%.
No, in 1971, there was what they called the Boeing downturn. The government stopped ordering military planes, and the commercial airlines weren't ordering anything, and the Boeing company was laying off everybody, and they thought they might actually go out of business. And there was actually a billboard that said, "Will the last person leaving Seattle please turn out the light?" Because that did happen. Today's economy is much different. It's a global economy. A company like Amazon, even though they have that many workers in the Seattle area, there are so many other companies in that area now that probably would offset if Amazon were to have a problem. But Amazon already foresaw what would happen if there was something to go wrong, and that's why they've decided to split up. They're going to have 2 world headquarters. And we heard a lot about,
Coming
this,
here.
Yeah, coming to New Hampshire. It was really funny. There was a story that the governor said, "Yeah, and we're going to have rail service from Concord and Manchester all the way down to Boston." And then when I guess New Hampshire didn't make the cut for the final 20, he said to the Rail Commission, "Oh, never mind, we don't want to do that."
Let's see.
I mean, I totally changed the subject, but the
Still
point
makes
is
sense, but to do something like that, but
the point is the economy, like I said before, is so much more diversified now. Seattle's not a one company town like they were in the 1970s.
I would like a better highway that goes from the west, like southwest New Hampshire to southeast New Hampshire, Hampton. 101 sucks, bro. It is a horrible highway, and if you want to get through Nashua on the horizontal plane of the state border, you have to hit 101A, and it's a horrible thing. It should just be a highway already.
I'm a firm believer that New England highway systems were designed and labeled to keep people out.
I would believe that. Yeah,
People
when I first came here 16 years ago,
See?
it's like you get to an intersection, and if you turn right, you're on Spring Street, but if you turn left, you're on Elm Street. It's like the streets don't have the same name. And then you don't have street signs to tell you the names, and then you can't get there from here. But I'll tell you, you know that exit 2 in Nashua on Route 3 that goes over to Hudson? That to me looks like it was the beginning of Interstate 193. To go all the way over to Interstate 93 and then all the way to almost Leominster as an interstate highway.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. You need an east-west
yes.
4-lane highway, at least 4-lane.
Yes. Yeah, I think New Hampshire is getting developed enough. There are more people coming here. The old heads hate it, but
no,
fuck
there's still
but
fuck
the
you
people
on
that-
the highway system.
But the people that come here expect it.
yeah, because it's 2018,
transportation.
man. Let's
Yeah.
go, man. Like step the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because
You want companies like Apple, Amazon to come here. You have to have something.
right.
Like it's a quaint part that you can go up north and see the foliage. You're not seeing the foliage down here, bro.
There's one highway to take if you're traveling from south to north to go see the foliage. You really only need to take one highway. But so working in a place in Nashua, I work right off the highway. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I get people all the time coming in. They get to we're the first place of business that they really run into that they can ask somebody, hey. So I get this all the time. Where's Route 3? Well, it's the highway you were just on. Oh, I thought that was 93. No, it's not 93. It turns 93 up there. Or, where's DW Highway? Well, you were just on it. But that's Route 3. Well, no, it's kind of DW Highway, too. Like, people all the time. So I really am a firm believer that we just designed our highway system to tell people, fuck you, stay in Massachusetts.
Away, right.
We got enough people here.
Even Boston. Do you ever see the meme?
That's
of
how Vermont was
they have New York and everything's grid layout, and then it's a map of Boston and it's like, man, fuck
Figure
you, because
eights.
like it's all just construction sites and we're changing it again for whatever reason. No, I'm excited. Like I think it's funny to see the world change how it is when it comes to this subject, and even my perspective on it has changed. When I was younger and like my son was first born, it was like, yeah, go fucking, if he wants to smoke, we'll smoke right here. Like, I don't give a shit. But now, like, after...
You're like, whoa.
Well, but not even that. But after seeing the science of yes, it's not bad for you, but at the same time where your brain doesn't fully to develop to 25, he's a smart kid, straight A student. It's like, listen, if you don't have to touch that shit, there's no need for you yet. It's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, hold it off. Like, my perspective of maybe it's obviously too late for me because of when I started, but it's if he can wait until then by all means, man, have up. It's not gonna hurt you.
Right, I have a
You know what I
15-year-old
mean? Like,
daughter. We talk about this a lot. I mean, I'm
sure it's a very interesting
Let's
conversation.
lower
It really
the drinking
is.
age to 18.
No, what?
And make
No,
a 21.
no,
Why?
no.
Why?
No, it has to do with the development of the brain, and that's what I tell my daughter, and that's what she appreciates and understands. She doesn't want to mess with her brain. She doesn't want to slow the development or stunt the development, and I told her 22.
I get what you're saying because you can join for the military.
No,
so you
it's
should
not
be
just
able to
that.
have a drink.
That's the old way of putting it, right? Kids, okay. So an 18-year-old is going to drink regardless.
Not
if they
necessarily.
want to drink, they're going to drink. They're going to go to parties. They're going to be with their friends. They're going to drink. They're going to drink if they want to drink. If they don't, they're not.
So
if you make it 18, you're now making them accountable.
No.
Yes.
No, because you're giving them the
How many people
the
turn
green light
21?
to go.
Right.
I understand that because
And they go hog wild
So-
because they've been waiting to be legal, right? So when you get out of high school, you're 18 years old, you now have like those swing years where you can make all those poor
Kinda,
decisions. And
but-
by the time you get to be in your early to mid 20s, you're not making those stupid decisions anymore. You're already beyond that.
but I still think one that's your parents' fault.
If you can kill yourself with
you
cigarettes,
should
make some stupid
you
drunk
shouldn't.
decisions.
I don't like cigarettes at all. We quit smoking.
Now.
No, I
quit
agree.
smoking.
I agree.
We
Though,
quit smoking.
There's a
quit
difference
smoking.
between laws and parenting.
Yeah.
The laws should be set at an appropriate level, but then it's still up to the parents.
Yeah.
It's always, I mean, it's always up to the parents. If you raise them right, they're not going to make as many stupid decisions.
Right. They'll
I'm not
still
gonna say
rebel.
that,
They'll
still
rebel here and there.
They eat Tide Pods. I'm not.
Yeah, what's up with that? I
don't
never
know.
did understand that.
I still haven't figured it out because of the because people say they
Because
look
they
tasty.
can.
I don't know, but I did see a funny
It was
meme
a-
where
it was a
How high do you
challenge.
need to be
Yeah.
to
It
eat
was
a
a
Tide Pod?
challenge. It started off as a high
yeah.
school challenge.
Like the
a
ice
couple-
bucket challenge?
Kind of.
So it
Just no
didn't raise
charity.
any money.
Right.
The only charity you get is, sympathy, or not
your
even
medical
sympathy.
bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Universal health care.
Yeah. Taking care of all these Tide Pod eating people.
Retards.
I don't understand it.
No, me neither. But I don't know if it was true. I did see a meme where it was like Snickers, and they developed their candy to look like a Tide Pod, and same thing like
That's
Twix.
not real, but yes,
But
it
that
is.
was
It
funny as
is
shit.
hilarious.
No, memes have been pissing me off. I think with a
Don't get angry at the memes.
I'm very angry with the memes. A lot of things
Memes are
like
life.
kind of like we kind of touched on in the beginning about like the gun thing. It was a tragedy, and gun control is a very difficult subject to tackle as far as because you have those people. Look, I have my right to have my gun,
Yeah, you do.
and you do have a right. And people will circle out the Constitution, the Second Amendment, where you should have enough ammunition to do whatever you want to do with it. But it also says, which they don't circle, is the discipline part, which a lot of people aren't disciplined. I've seen a lot of memes come out with, oh, well, this country doesn't allow guns, but yet has a high homicide rate. This company requires guns.
Well, they're cherry
but they
picking
don't.
information.
Right, and that's
to
what,
fit
that's what
How
it is. I
about,
think.
how about my right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? You're denying me of that right by allowing these people with guns to come into my school and shoot me. How's that for an
But they're
argument?
not.
Okay, my thing with this is I am definitely for gun rights. I think every person has the right to own a gun as long as you can do it within the confines of the law and responsible with it. I think.
So do you think you need to demonstrate some proficiency with the gun like you do with the automobile before you get a license to drive that?
Yes.
Yes, I think that if you're gonna purchase a gun, especially your first gun, you need to go through proper channels in order to own it. And I'm just torn on people who say I have the right to own an AR-15. Well, you do have the right to own an AR-15. But a hunting rifle, a pistol, a hunting shotgun will all do the same things to protect your home if that's your reason for wanting one. If you just want to take it to the gun range, fine, take it to the gun range. My problem is how a lot of the loopholes of these, and I'm not saying the AR-15 because people are going to go ballistic on our email with this, but
Bring it on.
fully automatic weapons were designed and built to do one thing. They're not for hunting anything
Kill as many
other
people as
than
quickly as possible.
As many people as possible. Who
Defend
needs
yourself.
one of those in their home?
Well,
and that's
depends on-
hold on. Who needs one of those in their home? That the purpose of it wouldn't be served by having those same
unless you expect 15 or 20 armed people to
Right.
be
Well,
charging in at the same time.
And I'm not saying people shouldn't be allowed to own them. I want to know my problem is
I'm gonna
more with the
answer you.
loopholes in how you
I'm
can
gonna
buy
answer
them.
you right now. The reason why they allow it to go on so long, well, first off, is because George Bush, when he was in, didn't sign.
Let it expire.
Yeah.
He let it expire and didn't sign it back in. So that's what made them. So we're already past that point. You can't ban them now. We're in a new age where we have to figure out how we need to teach kids how to cope and talk to people in a conversation and not just get mad and angry and not know what to do with it. So that's its own separate thing. But third, the reason why the NRA, the evangelical right, are so big on it is because
It funds their side.
No, not even just that. Here we go. Ready? Christianity wants the world to go end. That's how the book ends.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. That's a good one.
I mean,
That's how the story ends. That's why they don't give a fuck what happens, because
Look.
that's how they are waiting for the second coming. It only comes when it's the annihilation time.
You should not be able to buy a fully automatic homemade weapon without a background check at a gun show. It shouldn't happen.
Right.
You should
No,
not be
it's-
able to buy those weapons at gun shows without the proper channels.
Right.
And those are the loopholes that I'm talking about.
Right.
These are the things that we need to start tightening down on before we move into because you're not going to ban guns.
No, you can't.
I just
you
watched
can't
the new
ban,
Chris
you
Rock.
can't, You can't take. Yeah,
And he did this whole thing about
beginning?
banning guns.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't ban it. You're way past that. And everybody has their right to have them,
Well,
but
you
to
know
a
what we can
reasonable
do?
amount. I mean,
over time is you can buy them back.
yeah,
Because-
they're not. I mean, Australia, they banned them and then they confiscated them after their first mass shooting.
Yeah.
But again, Australia has the same size as
New York, yeah.
LA as
Yeah.
far as population. You're never gonna get that back from here.
No, and that really shouldn't be the objective either. The objective really should be to stop the flow of semi and automatic weapons into the hands of people that shouldn't have them.
I mean, if nothing else, put an age on buying an automatic weapon. We have
But
an
they're not
age
even
for
automatic. That's the thing. It's
Okay, I know
you're
the
modifying
AR-15 wasn't, and I know a lot of them aren't, but a lot of these high-powered weapons,
They're just modifying.
you can modify them easily too if you know what you're doing.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. But you shouldn't be able to buy that as an 18-year-old. I mean, if you can't buy alcohol until you're 21, which is fine, why should you be able to buy an automatic weapon at 18 years old?
Well, you were just about to.
Well, okay, I have no problem with it. Again, with the 18-year-old alcohol level, I think they can work out their problems. But still, if you're going to sell alcohol at 18, I mean, guns a little bit different. But still, you're buying an automatic weapon at 18 years old. There's no background checks on a lot of these.
You know, think back to the Vietnam War. The average age of the enlisted man was 19.
Yeah.
And he was drafted, and he was given an M1 or an M16, which is the equivalent of the AR-15.
Yeah.
And they were given these guns, and they were told, these 18 and 19 and 20-year-old kids, to go out and kill those guys. Boom, 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 boom. And then when you're done, give us the guns back. And then go off and go back home and live happily ever after. It's crazy
Yeah.
what we do.
I still think that I think that's where that mandatory military or some
I mean,
service
that's another,
should come into play, because
That's
then
another thing, but
I think that would, as weird it is, it would help a lot as far as, I mean, that's what Switzerland does.
Yeah.
They're mandatory military service for 2 years, and then they issue you a gun. You don't have to take it, but they at least allow you that weapon when you're done.
Israel too, the Israeli
Yeah.
Defense Force.
So
everybody has to participate.
And I think
you
we
learn
should.
discipline, you learn weapons.
You'd have a better community as far as your country goes because everybody's serving for the same cause. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Pride in country.
it's a weird thing in a weird time that we're in. But I think part of it is our government.
We've
lies
talked
to
about
us.
this before,
Yeah.
that 2 years serving your country in some way or another is more more educational than 12 years in school. In elementary school, middle school, high school, you're going to learn a lot more serving your country in 2 years, in my opinion, than you would going through high school. And I mean, because a lot of the stuff that they teach you in high school and stuff and prepare you for life, they're cherry picking and they're trying to mass produce people through the education system. They're trying to get them in and get them out. We got more coming in.
Mass produced
Isn't it?
workers.
Yeah. So
Problem.
I mean, yeah,
It's an
enough.
interesting thing.
I'm not anti-gun for all those people. This opinion was not brought to you by Bicker Bots. I know you're gonna label me out. You're gonna do all the liberal comments and all that stuff.
That's all right.
Yeah, Bicker Bots.
PJ called me one earlier. We have a rival with a
Keep your guns. Just be responsible.
podcast out of Texas. It's three friends that we shoot the shit and go back and forth with, and they're all served or former served or some way, shape, or form. So we like to bust their balls, and they bust our balls back.
It's a mixed bag on their show. The three of them. It's they're all on different sides, so they all got different opinions, but they like to call me the liberal and.
He called me one today because
I don't like labels, man.
It's except for Zillennial. I'll take that label.
Zillennial? I like that.
Zillennial.
What does that mean?
Zillennial is a gap generation period between. You want to know?
No, I'm good.
So 1977, 1983, that 7-year window of we were born with the internet and the information boom as we grew up with video games. Yeah.
We were the only generation that grew up through the baby boomer parents.
Right.
And saw the development of millennials. We're not quite millennials. We're not quite Gen X. We're in the middle. We have those hardworking values of the generation before us, but we saw the birth and death of internet services and like the growth of everything.
We used to go outside and play until the lights came on, but yet we know how to work Facebook.
Then we go to Oregon and play Oregon Trail for 2 hours after.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
That's pretty much.
Man, it sucks to be you guys.
Yeah. That's the label I'll take. But other than that, it's been a fun time, dude. I'm excited to go in and spread the word about this. And hopefully
spread the word. My generation, I was at the very end of the baby boom generation, so I kind of came of age in the late 60s and early 70s,
So
where
the Enlightenment.
and I
The
lived
beginning of the Gen X.
and I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area at the time, and so very, very liberal upbringing. Life is good, life is cool. Let's treat everybody with love, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great way to live life. It really is. It works a lot better than hate and anger and
My stick's
I don't know,
bigger than
man.
your stick.
peace, love, baby.
Hell yeah. One question before we sign out, and I thought of today. We played it last time. Would you rather listen to David Bowie, Under Pressure, or watch The Labyrinth?
Oh man, you keep tagging me with these hard ones.
That's an easy one.
Under Pressure.
Under pressure.
I feel it. You know what? I'm gonna flip the script on this one, and I'm gonna go with Under Pressure. And because I don't want
That's
to watch
flipping the script.
Yeah, because last time he asked me if I wanted to listen to Danger Zone on a loop or watch Top Gun on a loop, and I went for Top Gun. So I'm gonna go with Under Pressure. I mean, I could walk through life with that playing constantly.
Nah, I couldn't.
No? It'll be your turn in a second, Lenny, the sound guy. He's asking you.
Under pressure.
You're gonna go Under Pressure.
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
It's a longer movie. I mean, it's longer.
Hey, it's nice that you guys have Lenny the sound guy. Last time I was here, there was no Lenny.
No,
Yeah.
I can definitely see the improvement.
Lenny's working.
I would probably
No
go
offense.
Under Pressure too. I've seen the Labyrinth a lot, and I don't want to watch it anymore.
I've seen it maybe 10 times in my
I've seen
entire
it
life. And
too many times.
I don't want to watch it again. Top Gun, on the other hand, I could watch on loop.
Yeah, I could.
All right. On
All
that
right,
note,
man.
Alrighty.
cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Nice being
Have
here.
fun.